Welcome back to my garden. During the week, I found myself watching a video essay on YouTube presented by Jared Henderson. I don't think he's that well known. He's a philosophy graduate, content creator who looks at contemporary issues and tries to find ways in which philosophy might apply or offer solutions or ideas. At any rate, what caught my attention about this video essay was its title, which may ring a bell if you're familiar with a book by the same name, Amusing Ourselves to Death. This was, as I say, the title of a book written in the 80s by a media theorist at, I think, New York University, something like that, Neil Postman. And he sounds like an interesting sort of person. And I have discussed his ideas before on this channel, but it sort of bubbled up again, as things tend to on YouTube. At any rate, the book was written in an era before the internet and was really about television and the effects on American and, by extension, Western society. And one of the basic premises was that we had moved from a typographical era. I can't remember the exact phrase, but something like that. And as by way of illustration of what he was talking about, he compared two presidential debates, or the one was Lincoln and I think Howard, a series of debates in the sort of 1860s, I guess, that put Lincoln very much on the map. I don't think there were presidential debates. I'm not sure. And these were, as I say, a series of debates. And the format, they were in I guess, a theatre. And they were 3-hour debates, beginning with a 1-hour opening statement from each participant, followed by a debate with rebuttal. And we are very much aware of them. They were very popular at the time. It's rumoured that well in excess of 10,000 people attended. And of course, they were transcribed and published. And these are juxtaposed with the first major debate of the television era, Kennedy-Nixon in, I suppose, 1960 would be. And in that case, the entire debate lasted 1 hour. The opening statement was 8 minutes. And the big takeaway was that Kennedy was much more camera-friendly. And in fact, that may have been a decisive factor in winning the election. What a change in only 100 years. And one of the ideas that comes across is quite simply the public in 1960 was simply incapable of attending a marathon series of debates such as the Lincoln, I think it was Howard, I don't know, Douglas, that's it. Maybe there's a Howard Douglas, who knows. But those debates, people simply wouldn't have the stomach for them. I mean, we do watch long events, certainly they do in America. The Super Bowl takes hours, but it only takes hours because there's lots of advertisements and they're very entertaining. And if they're not very entertaining, it's a chance to get a beer or a hot dog or another beer and another hot dog. I mean, you know what I'm driving at. So an enormous sea change in how people are, how we interact with information. And I think the phrase that was mentioned in the video essay was something like the typographical mind. I think that was it. So, and this was the big point, that it's not just that watching loads of television is a waste of time. I mean, it may or it may not be a waste of time. And of course, if you're sitting there watching this in the comfort of your own home on your phone or laptop or whatever, and you want to scream out that, you know, we've pushed past television, but obviously everything that Postman had to say about the era of television is ominously prescient. You know, has everything to do with our current world and the state of things. So, yes, it could be argued that television or internet, phones, social media, whatever, is an enormous waste of time. And, well, I certainly have argued that. I mean, I love it just like the next man. But the simple point that if you spend 4 hours a day in these sort of superficial media, and 4 hours is by no means a lot, and you sleep on average 8 hours a day, well, that's a quarter of your waking life. You think about someone who lives a sort of an 80-year lifespan from a toddler to a geriatric. Well, that's 20 years that you've spent watching your phone. And that's a disturbing thought. But Jared Henderson emphasizes a different point. And this is the point of the typographical mind. It's not just that you're wasting your time. It's that you are altering your mind. Your ability to focus is being changed. And there are no shortage of people talking about how the average college graduate, tut-tutting, you know, today simply can't read a book. And there's no doubt that reading a book is a different, I would say much more demanding activity than watching a YouTube summary. And of course, the irony is not lost on me. Although I have started Postman's book, I haven't got beyond the first 10 pages. Although I think I'm motivated to read it, or at least do a serious scan to see what goes beyond the 15-minute YouTube video. So these are serious points that we need to engage with, no doubt about it. I think Postman argues about something else, that and a much deeper point, and certainly something that I've spoken about on this channel whenever this idea is surfaced, and that is that, you know, in the mid-20th century, there were two British writers who presented two very different dystopian views of how things might turn. Orwellian, Big Brother is watching you, very grim, and Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, where the public are not coerced into towing the party line. They willingly fall into line. I think the drug used in the book is soma. I think that's what it's called. And it is a hedonistic cult that keeps people stupefied. And of course, the parallel with today is extraordinary and, yes, very disturbing. Of course, I would argue that this isn't an either-or. It so rarely is. There are elements of both of these visions. Surveillance society, we are at a point, we are being surveilled. Is that the word? I don't know. We are being watched. We are being manipulated. Of course, we know this. Our phones are tracking us. Our personal data is out there. What is being fed to us is being done for by no means altruistic reasons or impartial. It's not a sort of innocent algorithm. There's method to this madness. It is carefully crafted. And I suppose that's part of what was worrying Postman and what he saw as amusing ourselves to death. We are in this state of dulled mind. And we're happy to be in that state. You know, one of the activities that I really enjoy, and I often mention, an avid chess player. But like so many chess players, I want to improve, I want to study, but the next blitz game, sort of mind candy, is just one click away. And when you lose, and it's a slot machine, and you want to play again. And before you know it, an hour or two has been spent, and then you feel disgusted with yourself because what you meant to do was deepen your understanding in the game, and what you have done is just made yourself angry and stressed out, awash with all sorts of very negative hormones. And this is something to worry about. When I was at university, this was the mid-80s, South Africa, so turbulent, the sort of death throes of apartheid. Some of my activist friends used to trot out the phrase, it's a bit of a cliche, but you're either part of the problem or part of the solution. And I know that's a radical all or nothing sort of view, but I think we have to engage with it. And in the context of this video, engage with it in the sense that whether we're producing stuff for other people to consume or whether we're consuming stuff, if you accept the premise that much of what we're doing is a sort of Brave New World style dulling of the mind for, well, not very good motives. If you accept that, you need to fight against it. And by that I don't mean in the sort of mid-80s Pan-African Congress revolutionary sort of way. No, I just mean you have to resist. And resist means not consuming and not producing dubious content. Or superficial content, or stuff just for kicks. And I guess if this video is sort of tying in with the last one, that's my problem with a lot of content creators. In the end, they're making decisions for money and likes. And of course, I'm not saying money's bad. It's a neutral thing. It's a means of transaction. And you have to pay the bills. But in the case of last week's miscreant, Mr. Mark Manson, well, with his multiple New York Times bestsellers, he never needs to work again. He can happily just philosophize and think and be a free spirit. So if he's producing stuff of superficial, sensationalist content, if that's what he's doing it because it's a choice for a reason. And the reason is, well, there are probably many. But one of them is because it is what will make the most money. And you might say, what's the problem with that? Well, then we're probably not going to come to any sort of agreement. I mean, it's my point that I make about dear old Warren Buffett, when he says, what can I do? I have a fiduciary responsibility. I must do best for my shareholders. As if there was anybody less beholden to his shareholders in the whole world than Warren Buffett. If you don't like your shareholders, get new ones, Warren. If you're producing philosophical videos, but you feel that you need to swear a lot because otherwise you won't get as many likes on YouTube, well, you're making a choice. And if I'm consuming those things, I am also making a choice. Of course, this other path, let's call it the Postman path, it's a hard one. But wasn't that always the way? When was the right path the easy path? Well, that's it for this week. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. And until next week from a sunny Brazil, that's it. Ciao.